All right, you're not gonna believe this, but if you wanna build a $1 million SaaS business, all it takes is $10,416 in monthly sales. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly what a SaaS company is, how to build one from the ground up, and how you can take that business to being worth $1 million. So today I want to talk to you about how SaaS is one of the most lucrative businesses you can get into in 2025, as well as also show you the exact framework that I use and draw it out right here on this board for you guys so that you guys can go build a SaaS company all on your own. Hi, my name is Shah and I've built 4 companies in the past 10 years, mostly in the automotive space, but just in the past couple of years, I got into SaaS and discovered how challenging and also how rewarding SaaS can be. Additionally, we've also invested in 3 other SaaS companies. And so we are dealing with these things on a real life basis. Every single day we're in the thick of it. With that said, collectively, all 4 of my businesses last year did $9.5 million in sales. So I'm not saying I'm some sort of guru or anything, but obviously I do have some knowledge that I picked up over the years. And so hopefully I can help you guys build your next SaaS company. I'm not selling any courses. I'm not charging for this information. I just do this simply because I want you guys to be able to benefit from what I've been able to benefit from and build the next big SaaS company for yourself. If you guys are interested in learning more about SaaS and more about business in general, actually, definitely don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So we're gonna talk about 3 main things today. Number 1, what is SaaS? So for those of you people that are watching that have already been in this industry for a while, obviously I'm just gonna make this really quick. There's some newcomers in here, I'm sure. So SaaS specifically stands for software as a service. Software as a service. It's pretty much selling software, but rather than charging for the software up front, you charge a monthly fee on the software. And so therefore this allows for a few things. It allows for sustainability. So then that way you can continue to pay your team in order to continue supporting the software, as well as adding features to it in the future so that you don't run out of funds and can't continue to pay your development team. Number 2, it's more affordable. So I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive to say that something that you get charged for every single month is more affordable, but to give you an example, back in the day, to run a, for example, restaurant, you might have had to pay $10,000 for a software up front. Now, they charge you $150 a month. It's a lot more affordable. So software companies make a much easier sale when they charge you per month as opposed to charging you up front. And number 3, this creates recurring revenue so that these software companies can profit a lot more over the lifetime value of a customer, as opposed to just making money one time on that customer and then being forced to sell them something else or being forced to just not make any more money in the future. So for those of you that are new, obviously this is why SaaS became a thing. And so now we're gonna move on to how SaaS or why SaaS is as lucrative as it really is. Okay, just so that you understand the actual insanity when it comes to the valuation of a SaaS company, I'm gonna give you guys some comparisons here, okay? We're gonna put together a table right now. We're gonna put restaurants, I didn't spell that right. We're gonna put e-com businesses, drop shipping specifically, and then we're gonna put social media marketing, SMMA, social media marketing agencies, and then we're gonna put SaaS. And for SaaS, I will use a different color, so SaaS. So we're gonna talk about the profit margins as well as the sales of the company, right? So this is the value of the company when it sells, and this is the profit margin of each individual business, right? So restaurants, we've got them at a profit margin of 15%, which is pretty much expected, right? Like when you go buy a cheeseburger and you buy it for $5, it has a bun, meat, cheese, lettuce, all that stuff, and you're paying the employee to make it. You have a restaurant that has rent, so it makes sense. You're about 15% net profits on a restaurant, right? And that's probably a pretty good restaurant. Now, e-com drop shipping, we're gonna put a general rate of about 20% margin on the drop shipping businesses. And obviously the reason that drop shipping is an insane numbers, it used to be a lot higher, but isn't as high anymore, is because you're obviously competing in a market that is worldwide. So you're international because anyone can sell any product from anywhere in the world to anywhere else in the world. So you have a big competition market there. Next, we've got SMMA, which is the social media marketing agencies, at a 40% of profit margin, right? So here's the thing. Restaurants, very labor heavy. E-com dropshipping, not labor heavy, but a lot of competition. SMMA, pretty labor heavy, right? You gotta have a good team in order to have a good social media marketing agency. Now, let's go ahead and talk about SaaS. Once you have SaaS running, it's like a machine that never stops ultimately, right? So the profit margin, you're not gonna believe this, is actually insane, is 90%. for a SaaS company. Why? Because your real costs are just like the very few software costs that you have of running your own software company, as well as server costs. And that's really all there is. If you have a SaaS company that's already built and operating, I'm not saying you should do this, but you could technically fire every single person at that company and the company should still run. So realistically, when investors or VC firms look at a SaaS company, they look at it as having a 90% profit margin, because you could literally get rid of every single person in the building and that company will still continue to generate income. So now let's move on to how much these companies would sell for. So a restaurant at 15% profit margin will sell for about 20% of its annual revenue. So a restaurant will sell for about 25% of its annual revenue. So that means if the restaurant's doing $1 million in sales a year, which would be a really successful restaurant, you'd be selling it for about $250,000, right? Now, e-com dropshipping businesses sell for about 200% revenue, right? So if you're doing $1 million a year, you would be selling for about $2 million, right? So twice the annual revenue. We got social media marketing agencies, which will sell for about 250%. And obviously keep in mind, guys, these are kind of just some general numbers here for you to get a grasp of ultimately how crazy this next number is that I'm about to give you, which is how much a SaaS company sells for. So a SaaS company that is doing $1 million a year in sales will sell for 1,000% of its annual revenue, which equals a grand total. If your SaaS company is doing $1 million in sales a year, you will sell that company for $10 million. And that's what I mean when I say these numbers will absolutely blow your mind. Now, here's the craziest part about it. And real quick, before I get into the next thing, actually, SaaS, why would it do that? Why does it do that? Because SaaS is a non-labor intensive business. It also does not require you to go figure out what the next best product is to sell. It doesn't require you to have a very skilled team. Once the software is built, of course, obviously it takes a lot of skilled people to build the software in the first place. But once the software is actually built, it doesn't require you to have a team to run it anymore if it's built the right way from the very beginning. And what's actually ridiculous about this is that it takes probably a similar amount of energy and effort to build a successful SaaS company as it does to go build a successful restaurant, e-com dropshipping business, or a social media marketing agency. However, it's hard for people to grasp the idea of what SaaS actually is. So they stay away from things that they're not really familiar with or not really comfortable with. And secondly, because with a restaurant, I could go put a burger shack up tomorrow and start selling burgers the next day. But when it comes to SaaS, it takes a little bit longer to take a SaaS off the ground. However, I don't care if you build a restaurant and you make $300,000 in your first year. If you're doing $300,000 in a SaaS company, and let's just say that's even on your third year, you have a $3 million business because it's gonna have about it's gonna be worth about 10x the annual revenue, whereas your $300,000 a year restaurant is only worth about $100,000, a little under $100,000, right? So I want you to understand that SaaS, it really is the next big thing and the most lucrative business that you can get into in the year 2025. If I haven't blown your mind already, these new numbers will definitely blow your mind. How much in monthly sales to sell for 1M? $1 million. All right, so let's just do some quick math here, right? So in order to sell a business for $1 million, I need to be doing $100,000 per year, because 100,000 times 10, which is what the valuation of a SaaS company is, equals $1 million, right? So we're gonna go ahead and figure out what we need to be doing per month. So we're gonna divide that number, that $100,000 per year, by 12. So if you divide this by 12, this comes out to, so obviously I'm doing rough math here, but let's just go ahead and divide this. We're looking at right around, let's just say 9,000 a month, right? So we're looking at right around $9,000 per month. And then now, if you take this and you think about, okay, what do I actually have to be selling, right? So there's a few ways to break this down. You can either have 100 customers at $90 a month, right? You can have 10 customers at $900 a month, or you can have 1,000 customers at $9 a month. So let's talk about different companies that you can make that can justify these prices, right? So 100 customers at $90 a month. A software that charges $90 a month could do something as simple as organizing your incoming credit card charges to let you know what categories your credit card charges are in. Or for example, at a $900 a month software, SaaS software, you could build something that allows a accountant to run their entire business, right? So building a CRM software for an accounting firm. Or at $9 a month, you could build a software that uses AI and allows college students to write the next best essay. And you could charge $9 for that. So realistically, I want you to understand, in order for you to build a $1 million business, all you need to do is figure out how to charge 100 people $90 a month, or 10 people $900 a month, or 1,000 people $9 a month. And if you can do that, you'll land under this category of 9,000, what we call MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue, which is the number one reason, because you have that expected monthly recurring revenue, why your company will then be evaluated at $1 million total. There are VC firms, there are stories on stories. If you go on Google after you watch this video and search up SaaS company sales, the numbers will blow your mind. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in sales just because people like you came up with an idea and went and executed that idea, built a software that can work on its own without any input from any human beings, and then went on to go sell it to a VC firm or investor that was willing to pay 10x the price, because guess what? They know that there's a guaranteed return on their investment. Now you've learned what a SaaS is. You know how easy it is to build a SaaS that could sell for $1 million, right? But let's answer the golden question now. How do you build a SaaS from the ground up with no previous knowledge, right? So I've developed something called the SaaS Square. So let's go ahead and build a big square, and we're gonna start filling this in. So got 4 different things that we need to think about when it comes to SaaS. It starts with idea, then we've got build, then we've got sell, and then we got scale, right? So if you can do these 4 things, you can build a SaaS software. Number 1, the most important thing when it comes to coming up with an idea is that you have to solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem, don't build the SaaS. It's just not gonna work. And an easy way to think about it is, are you building a medicine or are you building a vitamin, right? People don't want to buy vitamins, they want a medicine. If they have a headache, they want to pop that Advil, they want the headache to go away. They don't want to go take vitamin C in hopes that they don't get headaches in the future, right? So when you're thinking of an idea, make sure that the idea is actually solving a problem. Number 2, you want to think in a niche. Niches make riches. Everyone's heard that before. When it comes to coming up with an idea, you want to go find a smaller group of people that might have this problem. So it could be college students, it could be auto mechanics, it could be restaurant owners, right? But you find a niche where you're able to walk in and say that my software was built for restaurant owners. My software was built for college students, where your go-to market strategy comes into play. And I'm gonna explain to you what that exactly is. Last but not least, when it comes to idea, is you have to do your research. If you want to figure out how good your idea is, go ask your friends, go ask your mother, go ask your brother, go ask your cousin. They love you, and so they're gonna tell you, wow, that's such a good idea, right? That is not the proper way to do research. If you wanna do proper research, you have to go find people that have that exact problem that you're solving, right? In the niche that you're solving it in, and ask them, would they buy this product, right? And people ask me, okay, what is the number of people that I need to talk to before I know that my problem that I'm solving here is actually a legitimate problem that needs to be solved? Well, honestly, at a minimum, I'd say 100, right? And maybe that's a little bit on the higher side, but you want to try talking to 100 different people. So if you're selling to restaurant owners, you should be expecting, before you even go start building, you should be expecting to walk in to 100 different restaurants and just take 5 minutes of those restaurant owners' time and just beg them, if you have to get 5 minutes at a time to see if the problem that you're trying to solve is actually a problem that they have. Moving forward from there, let's talk about the build. So no code is the secret, okay? So no code is one of the newest ways to build software. It started back, I think, in like 2017 or so. Just in the past few years, it's gotten much more prevalent and it's gotten a lot better. No code is a way to build software, which obviously hence the name, without knowing code. It doesn't necessarily mean that you could be a non-technical person that doesn't know any code at all and you can go build it. So it's not no code, it's some code, I would call it more so, but you can go find platforms. So for example, Bubble, Webflow, Flutterflow, and WeWeb. These are all either hybrid platforms where it allows front-end and back-end development, or just front-end platforms in which you have to connect the back-end. For example, Xano, or Supabase. And these platforms right here, you guys can go do some research and go on Google and kind of look up like the best front end and back end platforms for no code development. But these are all some examples of some no code platforms that exist right now, which will allow you to go build your platform from the ground up. Now, you have two choices. If you're bootstrapping this thing, right? So which means that you're building it from the ground up on your own without any investors, then chances are that you're probably gonna have to go learn these platforms in order to go build your SaaS, right? And it's actually not that terrible. If you're a dedicated and committed person who can actually stay focused long-term, it'll probably take you a solid 6 months or so, but within 6 months, if you pick one of these platforms and really just dive in deep, they even have courses. I think Bubble has courses. I think Flutterflow has courses where you could take their courses and actually learn and possibly build this from the ground up on your own. Now, the next option is, obviously, if you're gonna get investors, you would find investors because you're gonna have to go hire, and I'm still talking about no code, right? You're gonna have to go hire no code developers because there are no code developers now. Actual traditional coding is a little bit, it's not irrelevant because it's still definitely something that you might need to do in the future, especially if you end up scaling to 10,000 or 100,000 users, right? But you have a lot of other things to worry about before you get to that point. So I wouldn't be worried about too much on the scalability side, even though technically most of these platforms should be very scalable. But realistically, if you do have to go build this in the traditional development side, or if you have to build it using a professional developer in any one of these platforms, it can get quite expensive. We're talking about $30,000 to $40,000 a month, depending on how many developers you actually hire. So realistically, if you want to go find investors, you need to go and focus on just one platform, which is Figma. So Figma is a design platform, right? So you want to be able to go and build your own design of your own idea and build a mock-up, so then that way you can go to an investor and tell them, hey, this is the idea that I have, and ultimately present that to them and hopefully get the funding and secure the funding that you need in order to build this in either one of the no-code platforms, or if you're willing to go all out right at the beginning, which I don't recommend, then go obviously build it in the traditional way that takes a lot longer. And so obviously one of the biggest advantages of building in no code is that instead of the 2 to 3 years that it used to take, it now takes only 12 months or so to build your initial first version, or what you would call a minimum viable product, or MVP of your software. All right, next, let's talk about sell. The most important thing when it comes to selling your software is having a go-to-market, GTM, go-to-market strategy. What is a go-to-market strategy? You have to know who your product is for, right? So we talked about that obviously in the niche here. You need to figure out exactly who your product is for. You need to know how you will sell the product to them, right? Number 3, where you're gonna actually find the people that you wanna sell to. When you have all 3 of these, you have your go-to-market strategy, and then from there, all you have to do is build your sales funnel. So we're gonna be making a lot more videos specifically on the sales funnel. So this is specifically what happens when somebody lands on your website. Do you send them through a free trial? Do you ask for their information so that they can fill out a form and you're gonna reach back out to them with a demo? Do you set up live demos? Do you have humans that you want to hire, or do you want to yourself be doing live demos every single day? Those are the questions that you need to answer. But this right here, the go-to-market strategy, is the number 1 most important thing when it comes to selling your product. And one important thing that you have to note here is that when you first start thinking about building a SaaS, your go-to-market strategy is actually very much so aligned with your niche. So that means that selling the software and the idea of the software go hand in hand. So don't just jump straight into the idea and go straight into building. Figure out what your go-to-market strategy is gonna be, which includes who you're selling to, how you're gonna sell to them, and where you're gonna find those people. And by the way, we are gonna be making a lot more videos specifically on the go-to-market strategy. So if you're still a little confused about exactly what that is, or if you want more details on that, definitely drop a comment down below and we'll make another video on the go-to-market strategy. Next, we're gonna move on to scaling. The question becomes, okay, you have your idea, you've built the first version, the MVP of the product, you are now ready to sell, you know exactly where and how you need to sell. So now we're going to scale. All right, what do I do now? So number 1, you're gonna focus on customer feedback. So a lot of people think, because of like the numbers that I showed you earlier, that once your software is done, once the MVP is done, that you're pretty much done, you're scot-free. It's not the case, right? That's actually when all the hard work starts. So you've already grinded out 12 months to do all of this and you're like, wow, yes, I'm done, I'm selling now, right? You're not done, you're not even close to done, because now the most important part becomes focusing on the customer feedback, paying attention to the details. How are your customers using the product? Are they not using certain parts of the product? What do they love? And more importantly, what do they hate about your product? How can you make this product better? And how can you avoid the number one thing that every single SaaS company wants to avoid, which is churn, right? And again, we'll do more content on that alone, but churn is the amount of people that join the software, that start paying for the software and then end up leaving, right? In the first few months of your software being released, you're gonna have a lot of churn. Chances are your software doesn't run perfectly. Chances are that people are just testing out whether they think it's a good idea or not. And chances are you're probably begging people to just try it, right? So people are trying it and they don't really need it. And so they decide after a month that they don't really want to use it anymore. And obviously you're gonna have a higher amount of churn in the first few months. However, moving forward, you want to try and keep that churn below 5%, right? So every single day, your focus should be on talking to your customers, right? Spending 3 to 5 hours just talking to your customers to see, number one, how are they using your software? And number two, how you can make it better every single day. And then the second thing that's most important to understand if you're scaling is gonna be adjusting. So adjusting / changing. So not only are you focusing on the customer feedback, but you're actually focusing on making adjustments and making changes every single day. And ultimately that is what is going to make your software go from having 10 customers to having 100 customers. And again, we talked about the numbers, guys. From 10 to 100 or 100 to 1,000 customers, the valuation difference is absolutely insane. We learned 3 really important things today, guys. Number one, we learned what SaaS is, and that SaaS stands for software as a service. And obviously this is opposed to charging for a software up front. You charge for it as a service, as a monthly charge or an annual charge, which allows you to keep your company sustainable for a long period of time. And of course, also gives you that insane 10x valuation. Number 2, SaaS equals money, right? SaaS is very lucrative, and if you do it right, it equals a lot of money. Number 3 was the SaaS Square framework. So the SaaS Square framework, we just went over it and we'll make other videos on it, but it's a framework that anybody can follow all the way from starting the SaaS to scaling it and making millions and millions of dollars. You can start your very own SaaS with a SaaS Square framework, which allows you to build a $1 million SaaS company. And it's not easy, right? This is not like a get rich quick scheme or anything like that by any means. However, it's definitely one of the most lucrative businesses that you can be in the year 2025. And guys, remember, at the end of the day, you can watch this video and you can see the stuff that we say and you can nod your head, and nothing's gonna change, right? So it's all about execution at the end of the day. So if you take the actionable advice and steps that I'm giving you and actually apply it in your life, the last 20, 30 minutes of your life can possibly change your life for the next 50, 60, 70, 80 years, right? So if you're starting to see that you can go build your own $1 million SaaS company, go ahead and click subscribe, because I'm gonna be dropping a lot more videos on this. And also, if you guys have questions, if you guys are not sure, obviously drop questions down in the comments below so I can try answering them for everybody, and also try to make videos on those questions. But also, I'm gonna have my email down below. If you have questions, you want help building, you want help with advice, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Like I said, I'm just doing this to try and help as many people as I possibly can, and in hopes that I can make a difference in someone's life. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.